Hello, 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 hello. Ugh. Let me pull it up over here so that I can see everything. Hello. How are you? How do I make that go away? All right. No, I don't want to see this. Press the Alt key to pause the chat, then okay. Alt. Where is Alt? I don't even know where Alt. Okay, Alt. Sometimes the chat goes really quickly, so it's good to know. About to get on a bus. Good luck. Oh, it was 117. We had 17. I keep seeing 17s. 7 is a Pleiadian number for me. Hi. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you. Thank you for liking. Hi. Hi. Hi, Melissa. Yeah, 717. Yeah, the 7s, the 1s together, like in those combinations, I usually equate to like Pleiadian type of stuff. The 7 sisters, the 7 stars, you know, we have 7 main energy centers. Hi. How are you? How's everybody doing? I was gonna be on time, but I have too many dogs to ever be on time. Hello. I should probably share this. I never do that. Oh, and I can like it. Can like my own crap. Create a post. Facebook. We'll go to Facebook. Yes, you can ask. Tonight, like, I asked people what they wanted to do, like what they wanted to kind of know about. And people said they'd like to do like a Q&A about starseeds, lightworking, awakening. So yes, you can ask questions like that. And basically whatever question you kind of have about spirituality or about what's going on in your life. Hi. How do we connect more with the Pleiadian energies, ethereal bodies? All right. Let me just finish this really quickly and then I will get into that. How do I finish this? We are live. Post. All right. Oh, it disappeared. All right. So basically, like for me, I mean, this is the thing about this stuff is that everybody has their own perspective. Everybody has their own way of doing things. I think that's the best way for you to kind of do work like this, or whenever you have an intention like that, like you want to connect more with them. Any type of spiritual work for me is all about our intention. So if your intention is that you want to connect with the Pleiadian emissaries more, or you want to connect with your light body more, and then we have, so if you resonate with Pleiadian energy, like if you feel like you're a Pleiadian starseed, it's most likely that you have a light body or I am presence up there as well. So you may do better to connect with that version of yourself to give you that information. But again, it's just intention. I find meditation helps people a lot with that because you're giving yourself over to like the subconscious. You're going deeper into like what you do to truly know without your ego mind or your 3D mind blocking you from that information. I used to receive in all different types of ways. Like when I first started awakening, I had no idea what it was. Like I didn't know, I thought I was schizophrenic. I thought something was wrong with me. But they kind of like will force you into connecting with them when it's time to and you're not. So I would go outside at night. Like I would just be like pulled to go outside. I'd go outside and I'd be experiencing all these things with stars. I ended up buying like a telescope, and when we moved I was like upset because I was like, those stars aren't going to be there anymore. And when we moved, the same things happened where we went, and then different things happened where we went. So I feel like stargazing is a type of meditation that can really help you to connect with the star beings, and you'll start to experience things that are not normal or that you haven't really experienced before. And the more comfortable you get with it, the closer that type of experience comes to you. And then also just by doing meditation like in your home, like before you go to bed at night, is a good time to meditate. And again, set that intention that you just want to connect with those energies. You want to receive messages from either your I'm presence in the Pleiades, or you just want to receive it from the Pleiadian emissaries, the consciousness there. And usually you can do it. Now, I do have a video on here called, I I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's about opening the vortex. The vortex is something that I learned later on, so you still can do it without knowing other things. Like, you don't have to go get a certificate and all of this stuff to have these things happen for you. But the vortex really did help me to like hone into a specific energy. So like the Pleiadians came to me, woke me up, and just bombarded me until I acknowledged it. And then I started doing healing stuff, and when I learned different techniques with that, I was able to deepen my experiences, and then I was able to start trance channeling and, you know, using cards and all. There's so many different ways to connect with them and get answers. So it's whatever kind of resonates for you that's going to be best. Like, some people can't meditate. Like, for me, if I'm going to bed and I put headphones in, that's the best way for me to like meditate. But traditionally for myself, it's me hosting a meditation, like me channeling a meditation, because I still go on the journey with people. So I feel like finding the best way for yourself is the best way to connect with them, and just having that intention that that's what you're wanting to do will help you to figure out the best way for yourself to do it and receive from them. And then just pay attention, because they send us messages in many different ways. Sometimes like I'll ask them to show me, and then I'll go on like Facebook and I'll see something instantly, like the 717. Every time I connect with the Pleiadians, I hear, we are here, we are here, we are here. And it used to be like I would ignore it a lot until I finally realized like they don't stop until you acknowledge it. One day I asked them to like show me. I went on my phone. I actually just saw it the other day. I have a screenshot, a memory on Facebook. There was these kids like standing with signs. They all had like a letter for the sign, and it all spelled out, we are here. And it was instantly that I wanted help with something. So they will show up for you to connect in those ways. The numbers, when you see the numbers, those are like frequencies and energies. You'll receive stuff that way. You may not consciously understand it, but you are receiving it in that moment, and it may just come out later. But meditation is basically one of the best ways, and then just finding out how to do it that serves you. We only just got the kangaroos out of here a couple years ago. A lot more construction does that. I'm not sure what that means. Hi. Why are you afraid? Melissa, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of... Hold on, let me see what she's afraid of, and then I'll come back. Hi, thank you, Celia. I'm going to try to get to all of these questions because they're really good questions. You've been a star, moon gazer. Yeah, the moon can help you too, especially with divine feminine energy. Sun gazing does help too. Just make sure you do it the right way, because if you go out and sun gaze, sometimes you can like damage yourself if you like just go out there and you're like at the wrong time. All right, well, I'll see when like Melissa says what she might be afraid of. Is it just a general fear? You're afraid of 2020, you feel your world is crumbling. All right, so that was something else I was thinking about too, because when I, like, before I came on here, I started thinking about certain stuff in case I didn't get enough questions. When I went through my awakening, it was like all of a sudden, I just had stuff like turn on inside of me, and I was like, what is all of this? Like, I would have like these thoughts that were crazy, and then I started like finding the answers to those thoughts, and finding that like they were like scientifically real answers that I was having downloaded into me. And it was almost like they did that so that I would believe what they were having come in. And so that was like the first step of the awakening, was like awareness of all this stuff, and then being guided to information. However, then came in the fear, because when you awaken to a lot of the stuff that's wrong with the world here. And I feel like that can sometimes be a part where people get stuck, and then they get into like the conspiracy theorist type of thing, or they start feeling like the world is going to end, and that, you know, we're under the control, that war is going to happen, we're all going to die, and blah, 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 all this crazy stuff. It can happen, but the fear, I mean, it's different for every single person. Fear is the opposite of love. So if you can try to like love what's going on in your life instead of focusing on the fear that of what's wrong in your life, or fearful that it's going to get worse, because if you think that, that's what you attract. We are the creators. And I know having that awareness, having people like bring that to my awareness before freaked me out, because I was like, oh my God, I think all these bad things, like I'm gonna have bad things happen. And it was like compounding. So luckily I had already gone through like really, really bad stuff. And I couldn't really get much worse. Actually, we did get much worse. But it's like I went down to bottom and then built myself back up. So I feel like the best way for you to not be fearful is to know, like, no matter what happens, you are still going to be okay. Like, even if you were to leave this physical vessel, you're still going to be okay. The worst thing that could happen here in our eyes is that you get to return home. So it's not that bad. You know, we make everything in this 3D experience way worse than it has to be. We take everything like to our ego, and then we get into that place of fear. So if you can kind of transcend the ego mind of this is so bad and this is going to get worse and what is that and what is this and nothing's going to get better, if you can stop with those thoughts, you can stop with those feelings, you can start to attract more. One of the easiest ways I have found to shift your vibration in those ways is to really like be aware of your thoughts. Start thinking more positively when you catch yourself in that, and then start shifting like your feeling because of it. Start looking at what you're grateful for, what is good in your life, how much positive stuff you have compared to like where you may have been or what other people could possibly have at this point, and just keep working on it. Like every day I would do affirmations, every day I would do a gratitude journal where I would increase the amount of things I had to write down that I was grateful for. And that attracted a lot more good things into my world. So it's really just about your awareness. But there's nothing to be afraid of. I hate when I go onto like a reading or I go to channeling and it's like all this fear propaganda, because that's not what higher vibrational beings are going to like tell to us. Like if you like, that's not great with the Bible, because it's all fear. And that's what the people like in control want us to do. And that was part of my awakening, was realizing how much of a control system we live under, and how like the banks and all this stuff and all this stuff is just, I'm sure a lot of you guys know about that. But the more awareness you give to that stuff, the stronger it gets, and the more it beats you down, and it keeps you in the system of fear and, you know, anger. So you need to transcend it and not give your energy towards it. Like I stopped watching the news, I stopped watching TV. I mean, I'll watch stuff here and there, but only stuff that's like going to be funny or, you know, I'm aware of. Like, and since having an awakening, I can look at stuff with a whole different perspective. You know, I stay off of like Facebook as much as possible because I see things on there that bring my vibration down. But just being aware of yourself can help you with fear. All right, so let me go up here and see. I know I've got some other guys that had good questions. Yay, you made it. How can you know what type of starseed you are? So that was something else. Like when I first started, like I did go through like the awakening of being drawn to the information. Like I feel like that will happen for you too. Like you'll just have synchronistic moments where it gets to the point where you can't deny it. So for me, it was like I was like having all that stuff happening. I was like thinking these thoughts, and then like on TV there was something on there. It was like the Discovery Channel. That was what I had just been thinking, and it was all the stuff that I had just said to my mother. And I was like, "Did you hear that?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I go on to YouTube and was guided to like how did 11 signs you know your spiritual awakening. So I clicked on it and I was having all of them, and then the next one was Starseed. And that just kind of kept happening. It was like I just kept getting led to the starseed information. How do you know you're Pleiadian? How do you know you're this? How do you know you're that? So for me, my predominant one that I started off with was Pleiadian, and they have been a catalyst. But it was like so many things that I set up for myself before I came here that tie into that. So like your birthday could tie into it. Where you live could tie into it, like the things that you experience in your day-to-day life. Like if you look at your earth sign or water sign or things like that can help you. My birth date really helped me. There's a woman called Lavendar at starseed.net. Back when I went through all of this, like her reading, it only was like a couple of weeks I had to wait, and it was way cheaper than it is now. But now she's like way outbooked, like a year advance, and it's expensive. But she'll read your natal chart and give you like confirmation. By the time I ordered that, I had already had a lot of confirmation. It was like I would just type my name in to Google, and then like my birthday and different things like Pleiadian. I just, whatever I was guided to do, I just type it in, and then I'd have all this weird information pop up. But that's how I stumbled onto the starseed markings. Was my whole life my mother was like, you were due on the 17th, born on the 18th, a minute away from the 19th. And I Googled like my birthday and Pleiadian, and then I found the Pleiadian lineup, which the height of it is the 17th, 18th, and 19th of May. And I was like, oh my God. And the other one happens in November at the same time. Now it does shift year to year because everything does shift, but it's still, you know, predominantly around that time. So if you were born around that time, it may be indicating to you that you have strong starseed markings from the Pleiades. Doesn't mean that you don't if you don't have that. That was one of the things that I like pre-coded. So I feel like we come in with these like codings, and we kind of have to discover them ourselves, because we come in here through the veil of forgetfulness. Like we forget all this stuff before we come, and then when we awaken, we start to remember it. So you'll be encoded completely different than me. And the Pleiadians just kept working with me, like we are here, and kept showing me all these different things that tied into, until I, like, that was one of the things that was the icing on the cake, when I found this all black and white website, and then in red was the 17th, 18th, and 19th, and I read all the information about it. I ended up booking with her. But I resonate with more than just the Pleiadians. They actually help me to like channel. So when I open my vortex, I go up to the emissaries, but then I go up beyond, and I go all the way up to the lighter source where all information is known. So when I trance channel, usually the Pleiadians come through me, but I can feel the shift in the energy. And it took time for me to be able to do that. You know, when I first started like automatic writing or trance channeling, it was like 2 words would come out for 10 minutes. Now I can write 7 or 8 pages in 30 minutes. I can very quickly speak about what it is they have to say. If I sit in a room full of people, I can scan all their energy and read to them. I'm not looking at them, so I have no idea. Like, because I'm still present. I'm not one of those people who trance channel and are like, they don't remember any of it. Like, if you ask me like a week later, I might not remember it, but I do have an awareness of what's happening. I can feel stuff. They just give me the words and the visions and the things like that. And then when I come back, everybody's like, oh my God. So it's something that you have to like get used to. But you could start off like working with Pleiadian, and then find out that you have Syrian, and then find out that you have Lyran. So the Lyrans and the Syrians are very closely connected. The Pleiadians are closest to us. I feel like the reason why I work so closely with them is because that's where I last was. And that was another thing. As a kid, I would always notice Orion. Nobody told me who Orion was. I didn't have anybody be like, oh, that's Orion's belt, Bridget. Like, I just knew. And my whole life, I always looked at that. But then later on, I had one of those aha epiphany things. I was like, if you know, Orion, his belt, like if you go straight across, like where the little dipper is, that's the Pleiades. So like we're in the eye, the Taurus, the constellation Taurus, which is my constellation, is where the Pleiades exist. So those were further things for me, like the fact that I was Taurus in my constellation, and that, so what it was that I was like, oh, if I was in the Pleiades, I was probably always staring over here at the Orion's belt. Like that was one of those things that kind of just like is a knowing. And it depends on your gifts too, and we all have the gifts. Like for me, clear knowing is my predominant one. Some people see things, some people feel things, some people will hear things. So you want to figure out what your predominant gift is, and then strengthen it and use that to your best ability to figure these things out. But really look at the things that happen in your life, what you're guided to, where you're guided to, and what feels right to you, because every system has their own type of stuff. Like for me, the Andromedans are very like healers, like they're very soft Reiki healers. They come through with a very white vibration. The first time I did a group meditation with the Andromedan, every single person in the room, like I didn't tell them what they looked like, anything like that. I just took them on a journey there. When we came back, every single person was like, oh, I saw a white being, or I saw them all in white gowns, or I saw people with white hair, or this or that. The predominant thing was white. And that's because we all break down frequency and energy our own way. So you will perceive these things in your own way. But they all had the same feeling of them, or the same feeling from them. So it's like, that's how I started to learn how to dissect like who is who. And like the Arcturians, for me, they're like the IT guys, you know, like they're very much advanced, like they do cellular healing. They're very like technological type of vibration. The Syrians are very emotional, and then the Syrians have multiple places. So some of it is like emotionally like connected. There's little beings, there's big beings, there's dolphins, there's the nomos, which is the dolphin and whale consciousness. There's so much out there. So studying it can help you to figure out what you resonate with as well. All right. How can we build our intuition? Trusting it. A lot of people don't trust what they feel innately, and then it's like later on you're like, oh, I wish I knew that, or I should have done that. And trying to, again, dissect yourself from fear or past trauma, because that happens a lot. Like if you were in a shitty relationship and somebody was abusive to you and cheated on you all the time, you get into a next relationship and like that person does something that triggers that memory inside of you where it's like, they didn't answer me, they must be cheating. You're thinking it's your intuition telling you that, but it's usually trauma telling you that. So those are the things that you want to like heal so that you're not bringing your trauma into future experiences. That's just one way of me kind of like saying that. Like if you grew up around like really abusive people, and like I notice myself do this, like I have like a reaction to things. Like if I send somebody a message and they don't send something back, I'm like, they're mad at me, they don't like me anymore, blah 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 blah. I go to this like place. But I've learned over time not to do that, because that's not our intuition. That's like our fear doing that. But building your intuition is usually going to come from a place of love. It's not going to be fear-based like those types of things where we think, oh, women's intuition, you know, we just know. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're just making shit up out of a place of fear. And men do it too. But it's trusting that feeling inside here. It shouldn't be like, ugh. Sometimes you'll have intuitive things where you know something bad's going to happen, but you shouldn't give over fear to that either, because if it is something that's going to happen that's not good, it needs to happen. Meditating, again, is going to be a good way to expand your intuition. Healing, doing Reiki like sessions or having them done to you has really helped me with it. Anytime I would get on the Reiki table, I would receive a lot of intuitive insight, like feelings, downloads, energies like that. But just make sure it's somebody you can trust, because I've had people before who were like, let me work on you, and they were just creating attachment and like sucking my energy dry. That's why like when I come on here, I do a lot of things before I come on, because I'm like cleaning and shifting all the energy. Like I want to protect myself. I try to like be aware of what I'm gonna wear on, like for things like that. Like when I go leave the house, I always wear one of these. I be aware of my hands too, because my hands are like how I do healing. So I try to make sure I'm protecting my hands. But those things like protecting yourself, because if you're an empath, if you're a starseed, you're most likely an empath. You're gonna be influenced by other people's stuff. So I do spend a lot of time alone. I did see somebody question that. Do you think like being a starseed is a lonely path? I do, because my whole life, that's something too for like the starseeds that people could resonate with. It's like you may have come from like a split family, or like just from this feeling of being different. You don't have to be like somebody that came out of a split family, but it's like feeling different, that you don't really necessarily belong wherever you are. So my parents split up and both got remarried and both had kids. So I was like always by myself. I was always in my room by myself. I'm still always in my room by myself. Like my room is my sanctuary. I don't like leaving it. You know, if I leave it, it means I like you because I don't like to leave it. But yeah, I always felt like I didn't belong. I didn't have like that feeling like, oh, this is my family. Oh, this is my family. Even on Christmas, like they would like, I'd have to go to step parents, grandparents, like it was all weird. And then as I got older and got into relationships with people, it was like I would be in these dynamics that it was like still like I didn't belong. Like I ended up with a guy for a very long time that had kids, so I didn't feel like I belonged there. It was like they're not my kids. And then like getting older, it's like I choose to keep myself alone, but I feel like that helps us to kind of go inward, because all of the answers are inside of ourselves. I always tell every people, don't search outside so much. Like, yes, you do want to research. Yes, you do want to look into things. You want to get help and heal and learn. But the majority of what's going to actually help you to awaken and to shift your world all starts within you. So I feel like that's why starseeds end up alone a lot. And we don't have like a belief system inside of us. Like you may be the kid that grew up kind of questioning like what they're teaching you in school. Like I can remember the day that they taught us about the pyramids. I was like, what? Like, I just knew that what they were telling us was not right. But everyone's like, okay, like, that's how the world works. You put something in a book and everybody believes it. And I've tried to always stay away from that, because whoever wrote that is who believed it. And like a majority of other people, think about your group of friends or your wherever you're at. There's always one person that everybody's like, oh yeah, they're right. And then so that type of stuff happens here all over the world, and everybody just keeps giving their power away to that type of stuff. But it is a lonely type of thing, because we don't look at life that way. We don't, a lot of times starseeds don't strive for the 9 to 5 job. They're not striving for the 2.5 kids with the perfect home and the perfect this and the perfect that. You may want those things, but it's not like how other people perceive it. There's always this underlying knowing that, like, that's not what it's all about. People have gotten away from just living in a sense of being connected to Mother Earth, being connected to themselves, being connected to consciousness, and have really stared off into this place of 3D ego stuff that just doesn't serve us in the grand scheme of things. And that's why the starseeds are here. You come in with that type of feeling, and like you do get sent on your own little mission to awaken. And then there's all the different like levels of them, or the waves. If you looked into like Dolores Cannon, talking about the waves of starseeds, I resonate with Blu-ray more than I resonate with any of the others, but I'm in the age group for indigos. And then there's the crystal children and the rainbow children. And so at the end of the day, it's all labels. You know what I mean? We are energy, we are consciousness, we are conscious beings living here. You may just resonate more with one of those labels. So try not to get too caught up in the labels. I feel like the labels are a beginning part of the understanding of these different energies and frequencies. And then as you go on, you start to realize like how you can tap into all of it, that you don't have to be like, oh, I'm a Blu-ray Pleiadian and that's it. You can tap into these other energies and bring them into you when you need them, because they're all part of our oneness. They're all part of the collective consciousness. And I've only been able to tap into stuff that's like around here. But recently I would, like, when I do stuff with certain people, which I've noticed over time, the people that I've worked with have shifted. There's been stuff that's come in that I have no words for. It's an unknown origin, or it's an unfamiliar energy, but I know it's higher up, and I need to like get the words or the names for it for people here in the 3D who need that label for it. You're always experiencing fatigue. Does that mean I'm awakening? I have a lot of lucid dreams and I've been meditating, and clear audience has been something that occurs. So as a starseed or a light worker, an empath, we do have a lot of fatigue because we're constantly transmuting. Now, and that's the thing too, I was going to say, like when we come here, like people are like, what is the point of starseeds? Like you don't have to be doing anything per se. Like you don't have to be doing like this, like getting on here and healing the world, or like making videos and touching people like on a grand thing. Wherever you go, you're already doing what you were meant to do. And that stands for every single body on this planet. Your mission is to be here and to shift consciousness and to anchor frequency. So you, as a starseed, if you're a predominant Blu-ray Pleiadian or whatever, that's like your antenna retrieving those information. And then the more and the more and the more of us that are here are doing that. But we're constantly transmuting stuff. So you're always feeling other people's stuff. You're always taking it on. And it gets more intense the more that you awaken. So the lucid dreams is another indication. Like if you've got those gifts and you're already pretty much awake, like a lot of people don't have any of that. So, instead of saying awakening, just say that you're awake, because you are. And in order to like help with that, you got to just listen to your body and make sure that you're not surrounding yourself with people who are going to take from you. Like if you've got that type of, oh, let me help you, let me fix you, let me, feel bad for you. If you see things on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever, that like shifts you down, be aware of it and stop like giving too much of your focus and your energy to those things. Again, healing, meditating helps with it. Before you go to bed at night, because you have the gift to astral project and see all of those things, ask them to guide you and to restore you back into your like original divine blueprint, so that you're not taking that on. And be aware of your cords, because every single interaction that we have, we receive and give energy cords. So you want to be cutting those things up too if you're feeling drained, because that's just going to take from you. Even if you're not thinking negatively about somebody, you're still creating energy with them. All right. I'm Orion Origin. Though Pleiades always interested, as they are only visible to the eye at particular times. It is quite a sight when it is there, though. Yeah, and when I first woke up, I thought that I had like the Orion thing because I had always been drawn to them. And then there was a time where I was like, oh my God, am I reptilian? Because I have Rh negative blood type. So the Rh negative has similar stuff as the reptilian type of stuff. And I was like all freaked out about it, thinking I was bad. But then I realized that not all the reptilians are bad. That's just something that, again, fear and propaganda feeds into. So you start to shift your awareness. I feel like when you awaken to these things in steps, and that's part of awakening. You don't want to just have one limited perspective where you are like, nope, that's the only way, my way is the only way, and that's it. Like, if you're awakened, you realize that that's not true, and so you allow for these new things to come in because you continue to rise up. And as you continue to rise up, you'll receive better information or stronger, like, higher vibrational energies that make more sense as you go. What do you know about the Mintakan starseeds, their gift and purpose? I'm not sure. I think that they're connected with... Are they connected with the Orion? Mintakan? I'm not sure about those ones. But if you feel like you resonate with them, most of us, our gift, our purpose is what feels good to us. You know, like whatever fuels you up, like what feels right to you to do. I get so many people are like, what are my purpose? What is my purpose? What is it that you like to do? For the first few years of my awakening, I had no idea what that was. So if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it, because it will shift over time and it will come. Just like as you awaken, what you believe will shift. I started off with Be Creatively You, where it was like going to be a mix of all these things, like my poetry and my drawings and stuff like that, which also increased when I woke up, like the ability to channel for those. So when you figure that out, you're going to know more about what it is that you want to do here. Just follow what your heart tells you to do. It doesn't have to be spiritually inclined either. It could be that you work with kids out of school, but your energy and frequency is going to help them through you doing that. All right. Your opening the vortex meditation, Archangel Michael meditation were very powerful and helpful for me, as well as meeting with my Pleiadian guide and utilizing the crystal energy. Thank you. You're welcome, Amatrine. I'm glad that it helped you. Hi, Sunflower. Do you feel like being a star? Oh, yeah, so we already talked about that. Yes, I would like to be tucked away in the hills, too. But I do find that sometimes when I find the right people to be around, I feel good. When you find the right people, that makes all the difference. And a lot of us are all online. So it was weird when I tried to find other starseeds online. The first time I looked for them on Facebook, I couldn't find any group. And then all of a sudden, randomly, the Pleiadians group was on there with 30,000 members. And I went in there, and within a week, they made me an admin, and I started doing interviews on YouTube with this other starseed who I used to listen to, and I had him up on a pedestal. I was like, wow, he's experienced everything I've experienced, and oh my God, like he gets it, blah, 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 blah. As soon as he and I like talked in the group, he was like, I want to interview you, and blah, 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 blah. And that's how I started more of my stuff online and feeling confident to say, hey, I'm a starseed, because I was in the closet for a long time. Like I wasn't like posting about it, and I'm still, you know, we all have ego, and it's normal to have an ego, but you'll notice like when I look back like 5 years ago to things I was posting, I'm like, such a low vibration of like focus on the bullshit, focus on fear, focus on anger, and just no gratitude, and just stupid, you know, just stupid stuff that doesn't matter, that I'm like, delete, like get out of here. So yeah, we've talked about how you can know what type of starseed you are. There's all different ways too. Like some people say, like if you look at the constellations, that there are different, you know, just try not to think about which ones are there. Just kind of like look at the map and then see where you're drawn to, and then see if there's something there that pulls you in, that was the energy and frequency you were feeling by looking at the stars. For me, it was always going outside at night in the beginning. I was always drawn to that energy of Alcyon. I was always like pulled to Pleiadian consciousness. And as a child, I was always looking at the Orion in a way that was like, it felt familiar. So you can do it that way. You can do it, like I've done readings for people, like I do automatic writing, and they come through and they'll give you like the download, like depends on how long I have with you. So a lot of times it's like, blah, blah, blah. I try to get in as much as possible for you to know. But it's like, a lot of times if you're a starseed, it's not just one place that you've been. It's been multiple places. You've also probably been here at least one other time before. Some of you are brand new here, and that depends on your wave, because again, the blue rays came in first when the dense thing was here. Like, there was like no conscious, like, awake people here. Back in the day when we had like Atlantis in Egypt and they were building pyramids and stuff, people were awake, people were conscious. Then everybody fell asleep and they thought the earth was flat and that you'd fall off of it. So you can see that there was a consciousness shift. But back around, like, they say around like the 50s and 60s is when the first wave of the starseeds or the beings came in that were paving the way. Now, I resonate with them because they are the ones that are known as like the lone ones, the forgotten ones, the ones that go through a lot, like with addiction. Like, I suffered with addiction, but sometimes that helps people too. Like, if you've been able to alter your awareness or your consciousness in the past, you may have experienced things that lets you kind of know that this isn't all that there is, that you can kind of bend your mind around stuff. So that sometimes is a thing with starseeds too. You may have had addiction in the past. You may have been alone a lot in the past, abuse. Usually we come in with a lot, but the blue rays go through a lot too, and it's a different frequency from like indigos. The indigos come in and they're like, I'm not going to do what you tell me. I'm not going to go with the grain of society. I'm going to go against it. But then the crystal children come in like turned on all the way up, and they are like the kids that are like playing an orchestra at the age of 4, you know. And now there's rainbows that are coming into that are similar to the crystal. It's like they're just increasing, but again, it's just an energy frequency like that we are giving a label to. Is there a difference between starseed and lightworker? Can you be both or just one? See, now I say starseed, lightworker, empath when I do these because I know everybody, again, takes these labels and they place it on themselves. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is kind of similar. You can be a starseed without being an empath, but I highly doubt it. You know what I mean? It'd be probably more likely that you'd be an empath without being a starseed. We all have empathy. Even, you know, there may be some, I feel like there are some humans here that are not anything. Like, they don't have like any type of feeling in them, and those are like the ones that just kill people. Okay, and they don't have any feeling about it whatsoever. But for majority of the humans, we all have empathy. So you can be an empath and a starseed and a light worker all at one. I identify with like all of that because I do work with consciousness and light to heal. But it's just a label. It's however you feel confident or comfortable as expressing what you are. I feel like light work is basically, you know, doing stuff to help raise the consciousness or the vibration of yourself, which ultimately helps raise the consciousness and the vibration of the collective. So if you're doing anything positive, that's light work, you know. And for some of you, just being here is light work. You may not be aware of it, but you are anchoring in different energies. You could walk by somebody and touch them in a way that you don't even know about, and it does shift, but you won't, you know, like later on you may become more aware of your impact on people. Like, I've been able to be more aware of it and intentional about it when I go to places and see people like all pissed off or upset. You can shift people's energy just by connecting with them and that intention to do so. I love sitting outside by myself at night. Yeah, like I love it too. And right now is the best time, like in the winter. It looks beautiful where I am, but I hate being cold. But when I went through my awakening, this is how tell you how much like I was drawn out there. I cannot stand being cold. I would put on like 4 pairs of pants and a bunch of robes and like tie blankets around me and go out there and freeze my ass off for hours. But it was like after a little while, I didn't even feel that temperature because I was so like connected with whatever I was connecting with, but it is very peaceful. Hello, your life path is 1, your twin 7. Today I sent a message to him, timestamp 717. I knew, I've always known. Yeah. And those are the things, like, and that's the thing too, synchronicity for us is always going to feel different for us. Like, when people come to me and they tell me like some of their synchronicity, it's not going to be as potent to me as it's going to be to you. So that's part of your intuition too. Like, strengthening your intuition is to like pay attention to those things. Get a journal and write down your synchronicity. Like I was able to do that before and see how everything was just interconnected and how it all made sense. And it does guide you to other things when you pay attention to it. What starseed are you? Oh, what did I do? That's up for you to tell. I mean, when people ask me, I can get it for you, but I feel like it's good for you to kind of figure that out on your own. And I do have my cards. With the clear knowing though, like a lot of times, like when I see people, I just know. Like when I met this woman, I was like, I remembered saying it to somebody else. I was like, does she know? And they're like, know what? I'm like, that she's whatever. Like, I can't remember what she was, but I was like, does she know? Like, I always just look at people. Like, some people look very Lyran to me. Some people look very Pleiadian. Some people look very Arcturian. I have this one friend that, like, I was like, I had to beat this guy. Like, I was like, listen, you're Arcturian. You're a starseed. And he was like, I don't know. Yeah. And I just knew it. Like, I just knew. The first time I ever put my hands on him, everything in my vision turned purple. Like, brr. Finally, like a year later, he messaged me and he's like, I think I'm a starseed. I was like, I was so mad because I tried for like a year to let him know. Oh, you know what? I was thinking serious when you asked that, and I got serious. So I also have walk-in soul. So you could be shifting. Some of you may not have like a some of you may have like a walk-in come into you, which is like information come into you. Like you may feel like a completely different person from who you were in the past. I sometimes feel like that because when people ask me about my past, I'm like, I don't feel like that same person anymore. Like they're like, are you ever worried that you'd go back to that? And I'm like, it feels like a totally different lifetime. But you could also have somebody that comes into your life in this way or be dealing with this. Like this is when you go to the store and you have an interaction with somebody that just sticks out to you and you're like, what was that? You know, that's a walk-in soul coming in that has higher vibration. It could even be yourself coming in to connect with you. But what was her name? Andrea. It was Sirius that I was picking up with you. So that may be one that you resonate with a lot. But Melissa, you've been feeling empowered. You even asked for guidance and a sign, and you came along. See, now that should tell you, like, to just stay in that, okay? Stay in that energy of being empowered. Try not to go to that place of fear, and just keep focusing on the good stuff and noticing, like, when things pop up that are there to help you. I never feel that way about myself, but I do get a lot of messages like that. Like, oh my God, you posted at the right time. Or, oh my God, you said exactly what I needed to hear. So that's the confirmation I get from me to believe in what I do. Because every time I do this, I get nervous. I feel like people are going to be like, what is wrong with this girl? But I've gotten better at it over time of not caring and just continuing to do it and getting that type of confirmation. So do that for yourself. Just try to like not worry so much about what's going on out there and just focus on what's going on in here and pay attention to what's being guided to you. I mean, sometimes we have a sense of fear that, you know, we feel something bad is coming. Sometimes there could be something bad coming, but try not to manifest it by going there, because that happens too. We can manifest really crappy things into our reality by just really focusing on it too much. How do you open up my psychic abilities more? So for the psychic abilities, we all have them. I found, like, when I first started off, the best way to do it was to figure out, like, what my major one was, which was clear knowing. Now, there's, like a test. I know Doreen Virtue went off the hinge, and she retracted all her work and things like that, but she did have a test out at one point. Like, one of the first books I read, it was Angel Therapy, and I'm not somebody that's, like, you know, wicked into like the angels and all of that. Like I never went to church or anything remotely close to those types of things, but I was drawn to that book and so I read it. And in there's like a little quiz that you can actually, I think, get online, that it's the 5 clairs. So we have like clear knowing, clear hearing, clear tasting. Some people will smell stuff as their intuitive gift. Some people will hear it, taste it, see it, feel it, or know it. So you want to figure out what that is, and I would just type into Google the clear test, like CLAIRE, and if that's not what pops up, just say like test what my strongest intuitive gift is, and then use that to give you others. So I've because I have clear knowing, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I wish I could see, I wish I could this, I wish I could that. I can do all those things, just not as good as like the clear knowing is. But then when I meet people who are like, oh, I have visions, but I wish I just knew. So it's like the same thing as like, if you got long hair, you want short hair. If you got curly hair, you want straight hair. Just embrace the gift you have and use it to open up the others. So sometimes I just know what I need to do in order to hear, or in order to see, or in order to feel more. And using them too helps you. So like getting cards can help you strengthen your intuition. I found the best way is to work with other people too. Like if you want to do a reading, you want to read for somebody else, because if you're reading for yourself, your ego is going to be in there. You're going to feel like you're influencing your answers. That's why when I first started trance channeling, I started the YouTube channel Bridget Rau and was like, hey, like I knew I wasn't going to have a bunch of people, but I found people who would ask me questions, so I would channel the answers for them, and that's how I strengthened my ability to channel, which strengthened my ability as, getting more connected psychically. And now I do a lot of readings with these. Now I've channeled my own cards. The automatic writing is something that came in later. Doing hands-on healing was big too, because when you get somebody on your table as a healer and you're guided to a certain spot on their body, you may not really think about it, but you go there and you do it. And then after their session, they tell you like, oh my God, like this happened to me, or, I broke my knee, or I did this. And it's like, you went exactly to where it was and it fixed it, blah, blah, blah. Just using your gifts and getting that confirmation helps a lot. So if you have people that are open to it, you can do that. Or you can there's a lot of groups on Facebook where it's like people are open to you, practicing with them. Just again, be careful with that type of stuff. Always put up protection before you do anything. Like always open the vortex at least. I have the vortex linked in all of my videos. Or, intend. You open sacred space. There's a prayer for opening sacred space that you can find, or you can use Palo Santo or sage, and just intend, that you're going to protect yourself before you're doing these types of things, so that you're not opening yourself up to like negative entities or attachments or, lower vibrations, or you're taking on other people's stuff. I tend to do that. That's why I don't do as many private readings as maybe other readers do, because they really impact me a lot and make me feel really negatively when I feel somebody's like sadness or the intention of people in their life. So always put up protection and intend to do so. Can you have an awakening at like 6? See, the thing about like being a kid, I feel like the kids are come in a lot more aware. I think you definitely could, especially now where the energies here are a lot more high than they used to be. I remember things from being a kid that were really crazy. And sometimes they freaked me out and made me scared and turned things off. But yes, you can have an awakening at that age. A lot of us, I've seen like a lot of like people who are into this stuff or spiritually inclined were really turned on as a child, but then through conditioning, through society, it gets turned off. People tell you, oh, that's crazy, or they put movies on with the aliens that kill everybody. The aliens wanted you dead, you'd be dead. If they didn't want this planet here, it would have been gone a long time ago. But that's the type of stuff that makes us turn that stuff off or fearful of it, and fear is the opposite of love. And when you're in a place of fear, you're blocking yourself from all that stuff. So try to stay in a place of love. But yes, you can definitely have an awakening at that age. Hi. You hear voices and whispers. You were at work and a woman's voice spoke your name twice, and I answered the voice and your coworker heard me. That's funny. Sometimes I'll have that happen. Like there was one night I had like this little air purifier thing up, and I could hear like talking in it. And I actually was like, what is that? Because I live upstairs and my dad lives 2 floors down in the basement and nobody else was here. So I'm like, I ended up messaging him and I'm like, are you talking to me? Like, are you talking into something? Like, I thought he was talking to me, but it wasn't him. It was like spirit. But that is usually a spirit trying to communicate with you, especially if you have a mediumship type of gift. I'm somebody that doesn't really use my mediumship too much because I don't like the way I feel. Like the first time I practiced, I connected with a guy who had a heart attack and I could feel it. And then I felt the sadness of the guy that I was delivering the message to. And it was just too much. So I don't like to do it, but I will occasionally do it. And sometimes you'll find a spirit that's like, hey, hey, hey. They may have a message that they either want to give to you or they may want you to give to somebody else. But also your I am presence can talk to you like that. You know, the Pleiadian energies will talk to you like that. Like they're always like, we are here, we are here. But their voice is different than like I'm used to them now. I wasn't back then, but I am now. Like now it's like if it's a spirit talking to me, it kind of can freak me out. You saw a hawk on Saturday, then on Tuesday. This morning I had a dream of a hawk. The hawk was on my shoulder. What does that mean? So for me, the hawk connects with the heart. And the hawk is about a new perspective. So if you think of like the hawk rises up when there's a storm. What does the hawk do? It goes up above it. All the other birds take shelter. Everything like, you know, scatters and hides. The hawk goes above. So like try to think of yourself as seeing life in that way, like rising above the storms of life, going to a new perspective, and seeing like the connectedness of all things. So that's like kind of close to like creator state type of energy too, where instead of being down in like, for me there's archetypes. So we have 4 archetypes in our like our lower parts. We start with the serpent, which is like our ego basic, like fight or flight, and then there's the jaguar for our sacral, which is more creative. It's more in that creative flow connected to our relationships. Then the hummingbird is about kind of just having the strength to overcome. It's connected to your strength and your power. But then here you get into like a creator type of place where it's more about seeing like how everything interconnects, especially like when you think of like how the hawk is with their prey. Like they see like this little tiny mouse, but they also see everything around it, and they're able to like swoop in and get exactly what they want, and then they're able to like rise up above all the other stuff. So you're probably coming to a new perspective, tapping more into your heart consciousness, and rising above whatever conflict and things are happening in your life at this time. You're welcome, Melissa. Yep, clairaudience. And I think clairaudience is cool. I think I've turned mine way down because it freaks me out. Like I'm like, oh, but that's because of stuff that happened as a kid. Hi, Mindy. There is some energy at this time that can explain insecurity. Is there some energy at this time that can explain insecurities? I'm not sure if you're asking if there, because you've got the question marks. I think that insecurities can come and go depending on where you're at on your journey too, and it depends on what you're insecure about. Like for me, sometimes I can feel really, really confident about my gifts, and then other days I'm like, and I find it's about how often I use them too. Like if I take a few days off of doing private readings, or like take an extended time off of it, when like I go back to that first one, I'm a little like nervous about doing it. And then I've never done like a reading where I'm 100 like, oh, they're gonna love this, because I don't lie to people. I don't sugarcoat stuff. But I've never had anybody come back and be like, nah. So I shouldn't be that way, but I still hold on to it. I think it's good to hold on to that, to be humble. You want to have some humbleness, but you don't want to be down into the insecure parts. And now if it's like looks, I feel like that can happen a lot too. But that will be a result of your vibration. Usually when we're vibing really high, we're not really so caught up in the like our body and our face and all of that stuff. Like for me, I do try to put effort into making sure I look okay when I'm going to be dealing with other people. But for the most part, like I want to be comfortable. And I think that's more important at the end of the day. You can also get insecure about relationships and stuff like that. But we do have a big shift happening right now where 2020, like I feel like there's this push that people could be feeling. That could be why some fear is coming up or insecurities are coming up, because it's time to get rid of stuff that doesn't serve. You may have like this nagging thing in the back of your head, but you may know what it's connected to, or you may be unsure of what it's connected to. But either way, it will bring up some insecurity and doubt. I've been having something like every freaking day, every minute of the day, that I'm like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But there's some part of me blocking me from doing it. So, and I think it's insecurity and fear of doing it. But I know I'll do it before it's too late. So I try to just let me do that. Like instead of freaking out about it, I try to go to that place of like, all right, I'll do it when I need to do it. Let me get more intuitive confirmation that that's exactly what I need to do. Because like last week in regards to it, I would get mixed up messages like, yeah, go do it. And then it was like the following thing was like, no. And you know what I mean? Like when you're getting synchronicity, it either goes against what you're thinking or goes with it. And that's like your sign. So if you're getting mixed messages, try not to like dive into like what you're thinking right off the bat. Don't let like the first meme you see be the thing that pushes you into something. Go within and meditate and figure out what you're being guided to do. Thank you for the $5 multi-dryer. Love you, Bridget. Today was a bad day. I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm sending lots of love to you. Yes, I think so, and I can smell different smells like in my house. I smelled rose perfume, but I have heard voices and whispers since I was a teenager. So you may be very much connected to like mediumship, because sometimes when their energy shows up, you'll smell like the scent that they, used to bring forward. Sometimes people get that as like a confirmation when they're doing like a mediumship reading. They're like, I'm smelling roses, or I'm seeing, like, for me, the day that I connected with that guy, I was seeing pencils rolling on a desk, and I was like, this makes no sense. But the guy was like, he was a teacher. Like, it made sense to him. They had something with pencils. But those are the things that can give you confirmation sometimes to know who you're connecting with. So you may be receiving a lot of messages from spirits that have been here rather than spirits that are up above. And if you want to shift it, like higher up, because I used to get messages from down here. I don't, and when I did my mediumship class, like, my teacher's like, no, you're too far up, because I'm like, she's like, what do you see? And I'm like, clouds and this thing. And she's like, no, come back down. You can rise up above like the 4 or 5D. That's usually where like spirit consciousness is, of like the deceased people, but that's like a version of them. I believe we're multidimensional. So you got your physical self, you've got your spirit self, you've got, like this parts of you that is the I am presence, and then you have the I am presence that is in multiple places wherever you've existed. So there's still an I am presence of you in Atlantis if you're Atlantis. There's an I am presence in Lyra if you're in Lyra. There's an I am presence in Sirius if you're in Sirius. And that's how you connect to those places very well, to get the information of them. But you can also just intend to connect with whoever's up there. Like I always say the emissaries of light for the Pleiadians, but the councils of light, whatever feels appropriate for you to place as a label onto who you're trying to connect with is fine. Just place a word that you feel like represents what you're trying to get information from, and then trust and allow for you to receive it. But you'll feel the shift from like these lower densities up into higher. But sometimes even like archangels and stuff will come with a scent. I think Mother Mary, or I can't think of her name for some reason. There's a woman that comes through with the smell of rose. So you could be connecting with somebody's energy that way, especially if you're getting the woman's voice. That could be, what is her name? Mother Mary? It's either Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene, I think, that you're connecting with. Keeping my vibration high means blocking and deleting negativity. Yes. And that's like everywhere. And there's like doing it in ourselves, doing it on our Facebook, doing it in our lives. Like if our friends or our family members are down and crappy, we want to block them. We don't want to allow that in. And that doesn't mean that you like hate them and you're never going to talk to them again. It just means that you don't let their bullshit in, and you distance yourself from it. Or you transcend what they're doing. You don't allow it to bring you down anymore. I found that happened over time. It was like, I used to want to just like always just hide. And then I got to the point where I was able to like understand what was wrong with what was going on with them. So instead of letting it like hurt me or so badly, I just kind of like not accept it, because I don't want to take it on, but I accept what's going on with them, and I don't let it like take away from me. Sometimes if I'm tired or hungry or like, already kind of down, other people, like when I'm more vulnerable, it's almost like when I'm vulnerable, those type of people know it. It's like they show up. They're like, hey, I'm back in your life all of a sudden, and I want to talk to you. And it's like, ha! Like, no. But you get better at it as time goes on. Just keep yourself connected to yourself and be aware of these things. You're an alpha indigo adult. What star seed is connected with indigo children adults? So I feel like a multitude of star systems can connect with indigos. So for me, like, just because I'm predominant, like always connect with the Pleiadian, I also connect with Sirius. I connect with Arcturus. I connect with Lyra. I feel like Pleiadian and Sirian are two of the stronger ones. Lyran are like the ancient ancestors for me, which was like where I was long time ago. But I definitely resonate with Blu-ray in all of those places. Now for the indigo, for me, indigo feels like it could be any of them, really. Like it doesn't fit to just one, because the indigos like have like that more like, here I am in your face, I'm a system buster, which is what a starseed is as well. So you could really resonate with all of them. And you may have a different part of yourself. You may have that part of you that's like the renegade, the system buster that doesn't want to go with the norms of society and isn't afraid to speak your truth and tell it like it is. However, there could also be a part of you that's very emotional and very loving and very nurturing, and can't, always keep that part of yourself up. And that could be connected to like a Снериan aspect, or, an Andromedan aspect. I don't feel like a lot of us are just one either. So you want to go within and figure that stuff out. Meditate on it. Pay attention to like what your birthday is, what it's connected to. Look into like, and don't just look at like one person's, like what their characteristics of the Pleiadians are, their characteristics of the Blu-rays are, because everybody has channeled their own thing, and every channel has an ego, so it's going through a filter system. So when I channel and when I give you information, it comes through my filter system, my level of awareness to you. Like it's still high vibrational, but it will still hold parts of my energy in it. And then another channel may give you something else that's on the same level of it, but it could just hit you in a way, like it was worded in a different way or said in a different way, that will make you be like, aha. So try to look at multiple things and also go within and feel when you're coming up with like your labels. And at the end of the day, it's just a label. You don't have to stick to it. You may find that you no longer resonate with a certain part. Like mine shift over the year. I've noticed, like in May and November, the Pleiadians are like full force on my door. Then there's other times of the year where it's like I'm really wanting to work with the dolphin consciousness. Then there's other times where it's like Arcturians are coming in for some reason. So I just go with the flow. The Lyrans will come in a lot for like abundance and like around the Lion's Gate in August. So if you were born around that time, you may have more of a Lyran type of thing. And the Lyrans have that type of energy as well, where they're like, they've got like that, here I am, and they're not afraid to hold it back. But some of the Syrians do too, and there's multitudes of Syrian consciousness. You can think of Sirius as like another Earth. There's like the dolphins, there's the mermaids, there's the fairies, there's the small little 3-foot beings, and there's the big 6-foot beings. So you could be resonating with one of them, and they don't all have the same way of expressing themselves. So you may have multitudes of things inside of you. Hello, Aquarius Sun, Gemini Moon, Cancer Rising. I think I'm definitely connected to the stars and moon. That makes sense. And the stars, there's tons of energy, and all of us have star in us. Like we're made up of the same energies that like the photons, the elements, all of that stuff exists inside of us. We literally are star dust, in a physical form. And then the moon, I feel like that connects with a lot of the feminine energies inside of us. Sometimes I kind of like, I don't know, I feel like the moon might be kind of something that was created here after everything was already created, but you may be drawn to it for a reason, and look into that stuff. Like David Icke has a lot of good information. Some of his stuff is a little too far, like crazy, but if you listen to like his 3-hour seminars, it'll probably help you to awaken more things. I think what the name of his one that I really resonated with was like Humans Get Off Your Knees. His name's David Icke. And then there's stuff by Zechariah Stitchin about the 12th planet, so you can find out about like the Nibiru type of stuff, which is the 12th planet that is on a different thing, comes back around every 360,000 years. That's where the Anunnaki came from. The Anunnaki are the ones that came here originally and manipulated the DNA. And it's like stuff like that made sense for me later on, because if you look at the Bible, they talk about Noah, where it's like he got a boat full of all these different animals and went around. That's not as realistic as like higher tech, where you take the DNA of every animal and put it in a ship, or when you look at like the burning bush that is in the Bible, and think of that more so as like a freaking UFO rising up. So there's a lot of things. And then the little disc with the wings on it is all over the freaking planet. But if you're back in the day where you don't have flying discs and you see one, how are you going to predict, like, put it up on your wall? How are you going to paint that? You're going to put a disc with wings on it because it flew. So there's things like that happen all over the world too, like looking into our history, looking into like the suppressed artifacts that have been found all over the planet that are not normal, like things that have Orion's belt on them, things that are made out of metal that is indestructible, things that like the pyramids are everywhere. There's pyramids in Egypt, there's pyramids in South America, there's pyramids in China that are hidden. They tell us that it's just a hill, but it's perfect freaking pyramid. So you will find things like that too, that kind of puts pieces together for you. Past lives, so many of us have memories. Yeah, and you can dive into those too. And it's kind of just a knowing. My first memory ever here was from Atlantis, and I didn't know it until I was older. I was underwater, and everybody was like in these houses dead, and I was alive. And I didn't understand that. It was always freaked me out. It was a recurring dream, the first thing that I remember from like my life here. And then finally later on, I figured out that it was like the fall of Atlantis. You're clear knowing as well. Good. Libra sun, moon, Aries rising. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool attic area. This is actually my bedroom. I don't know, like the guy who built this house, he passed, he's here. But he built this house and added things onto it later on. So like I have little windows everywhere. I have a window over there, but it doesn't lead to outside. Those windows don't lead to outside. He added stuff as he went. He kind of like had like this be like his like, I don't know, type of house. But it's cool. It does cool stuff. Hello, hello, hello. Trusting the feeling is in your gut, like in your poo bowels. Yeah, trusting your gut helps. Again, as long as you're not letting fear be like the thing that's trust that you're trusting. I've started protecting myself. Good. And there's so many ways to do it. And again, intention. You know, like I used to be like all into like all these crazy rituals and stuff like that. And I do think it is good for us as humans in the 3D to have 3D tools that we use, but they are limiting. You know what I mean? If you're out about and you don't have sage with you or whatever, you don't want to sit there and freak out like I can't be protected because I don't have my sage. Or I can't go through my, 12-hour meditation thing at this point. Or, people are going to think I'm crazy if I stop. And I'm like, oh, so like what I would do sometimes is like set up with like Archangel Michael, like if you call on him to cut your cords. And that was something I always knew Archangel Michael from the moment I was a kid. Like nobody told me about him. I just knew who he was. I call him when I was scared. But you call on him to come cut your cords every time you want your cords cut right. So I asked him instead to just cut my cords as soon as they come at me. So as soon as people are like trying to send daggers my way, things like that, I ask him to take care of it before it happens. I also check in with myself regularly to not like have that be the catch-all, because I'm sure over time, if I don't really think about that, then, it's like that intention is no longer holding as strongly as it may have once been, especially if you start thinking negatively about other people, or you go through something kind of traumatic, or you're, let stuff happen in your life that's just not so great. So you do want to be mindful of being protective of yourself, but you don't have to be like over the top with it either. And you can set things up for yourself that kind of automatically take care of it. I have a vortex up around my house 24/7. And I've had a lot of things happen with that wherever I've lived that have given me confirmation that it exists there and has protected a lot of stuff. But you just want to make sure you're aware of it and not go over the top with it. You're welcome, Greenie Joy. What do you do when your third eye begins to open and you can feel presences? Well, it depends on what you want to do with it. Like if you have it starting to open, you're seeing stuff. If you're going to a place of fear and you feel like you're closing it, you got to try to come into a place of love. Like I used to do that to myself when I was trying to connect with the light ships. I would go outside for all these hours and be like, yeah, like in this place of love and experience, like can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. And it would always be like 4 a.m., everybody's asleep, and here comes something. And as soon as it would get really, really close, I would freak out and then it would go away, because it won't maintain at that vibration of fear. So if your fear is blocking you from keeping it open, you got to try to like practice of getting into unconditional love. Like I would just sit there with unconditional love, like playing over and over and over in my head. I would just keep repeating it, keep repeating it, keep repeating it. Or I would be like sending love, setting my intention that I was sending love, instead of fear, it's coming close, or oh my god, what is that? Because that's what brings us back. Those are the people who, when we astral project and we get out there and like instantly slam back in, it's because of fear. It's because you're like, oh my god, like you bring your attention to it instead of just going with the flow. So it's just practice, but you can definitely continue to open it and get it stronger and stronger by focusing more on love, and then doing things that are going to work with your third eye too. I like to do things with candles, like with the flame of candles. Mirror work helps with your third eye. There's one thing I do with both. Like you put the candle on, you turn the light off, you look into the mirror, and you try to breathe through those levels of the archetypes that I was talking about earlier, bringing your awareness from our base, like 3D fight or flight crap mode that we're always in, and bringing it up into a more creative place. And when you start to do that, you'll start to see like the energy shifting over your face. And then when you come up here, you may start to see different faces too. Like you'll see different faces going over yours. Now these are supposed to be faces that you're connected to. They could be your past life. They could be, spirit animals, star beings, things like that. And you can do this with other people. If you do it with another person, keep one eye closed and like have them close that too, and just gaze into each other's eyes. When I've done this with other people, they've like, two of the people I did it with saw the exact same things on me. So that was how I got confirmation that they were really seeing what was really there. But yeah, you can do this alone. And when you get to this place, you're going to start seeing all these different faces. When you bring your awareness, like you're breathing through the intention to see through now the state of like the hummingbird, which is going to give you the ability to hold one face strong, okay? So you want the one that has the message. So you're intending, all right, let me keep the one face that has the important message for me. I'm tapping into the power and the ability to keep my awareness, my intention, my focus there. And then you get the message. Then you can bring it up another step further into your heart, the creator state, the puff state, and when that happens, you completely disappear. So it's wicked cool because you go from seeing all these faces and you hold this certain face and you get the message from it, and then when you come up to this like level of awareness and breathing, which is just like a breathing technique, should take no longer than 10 minutes altogether. When you get up here, you completely disappear, or whoever you're doing it with completely disappears. The first time I did it with a girl, there was an oscillating fan behind her, and when she disappeared, I could see just the fan was there completely, like before it would disappear behind her, and then she disappeared and I could see the fan going. So I was like, oh my god. It takes practice to get that one sometimes, but you can definitely do it, and that will strengthen your ability to perceive things of the spirit world and to connect with who you are. You may be able to see your Syrian self, your Pleiadian self, your past life, or the animal spirit that's working with you. And as you go through your stuff, you may have different ones come in at different times. Sometimes when we have the veils, then our ancestors come in. Lately, ancestors have been big, I've noticed. Like I keep having dreams and feelings and presences from my ancestors. So you could work with them, doing that type of technique, and just breathe and intend that you're holding on to these different levels of consciousness. Try not to overthink it. That's something people do, is they overthink too much. All right. Me too, me too. Yes, they're like strangers. Me too. I've been feeling like that a lot lately at work. I don't know what all the me too's are for, but awesome sauce. The same here, Bridget. Never felt, oh yeah. So that was way back. My daughter is starting to see spirit, and we talked a lot about her sight. Yeah, see, that's a good thing. So when you have kids that are spiritually inclined, you want to make sure that you're like working with them. Sometimes people are like, well, how? It's like, just talk to them, just try to learn and keep it like turned on to them, because a lot of people, like there's a person I know, her son is very tuned in and she hates it, so she's like making him turn it off. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They come in, and they're good and they're high vibey and they haven't been preconditioned and programmed by society yet to be like, let me turn all this off because I don't want to be weird, or I don't want to be scared, or all this stuff. Just embracing it. And sometimes these kids that are coming in now, you can't turn it off even if you try. So it's like they figured it out. Let me see. Let me go scrolling down. Can you give us all advice for how to choose people to learn from, or allowing them to have access to our energy via practices like Reiki in order to protect ourselves? Greedy Joy, with that, I have a couple of things with that, because I've been through some shitty shit with people, and then I've also come to the awareness that like everybody that I connected with, regardless of what happened in the end, I did learn from, and it was all for a reason. It was all for a purpose, no matter how much it hurt or whatever they did. But being aware, and trusting your gut. The first person that I worked with in like the Reiki thing, the first time I met that person, there was a thing inside of me that was like, she reminds me of this person that I knew that was known for not such great things. And it was just the way she was. She was very fake, like, oh my God, and yeah, it was just fake, and I just could feel it. And then as I got to know her and work with her, her real self came out. And that's when I finally like was like, okay. And she used me a lot, took advantage of a lot, but I also learned a lot, you know what I mean? So like I feel like if your intention is to go to somebody to heal, your intention is going to override anybody's negative intention. Like you're still going to receive what you need regardless. Like that's how the universe is set up. Wherever you are, whatever you experience, don't look at it as like, I was a victim of this, or I'm going to be a victim of this, because you go out in the world like that, that's all that you're going to attract and feel and be. But if you can go out and kind of just trust that feeling inside of you when you meet these people, if they're good or not, trust it. And if you don't trust it and you go through something, there's still something that you needed to learn. That experience also helped me to like connect with other people that I never would have connected with. It pushed me to do things that I never would have done other places, gave me opportunities to do things that, have brought me to where I am now. So I know it was all part of the thing, but yeah, like it sucks. And there are people out there who are not always going to have your best intention at hand. Trust yourself. If you go to somebody and their message resonates, then it resonates at that time. You may resonate with a certain person at a certain time, and then later on down the road, no longer resonate with them. Either you've shifted too high, or they've maybe shifted above, or whatever. Don't even try to like label it like that. Just say, all right, we're not on the same frequency anymore. I'm going to go. If you feel safe in somebody's presence, you've received something from somebody, then just continue to allow it to happen. But you kind of can just tell. For me, well, that's the thing, like I have clear knowing, so I can kind of just tell a lot now when somebody's got like bullshit to feed, or if they actually care, or if there's like, it's weird, like in this work you would think that all these people sprouting light and love wouldn't have it, but sometimes there's like a competition type of vibe that people give. Just try to stay away from those types of feelings and allow spirit to guide you to the right thing. Like if you're looking for a place nearby with practitioners to go to, look at their pictures before you go there and feel like if it feels right. There's somebody that I know that comes here to work with me one-on-one, and there's a place nearby that people have always tried to get her to go there, and she's never ever gone there. And then after what those people did to me, she was like, I'm so glad I never went there. So it's like she was able to pick that up. She never even set foot in the door and already didn't like them. So just trust what you feel about where to go, and you should be good. If you're somebody that has other types of gifts, you can definitely utilize your gifts. Ask spirit, pull cards for yourself. Ask other people in your area. Usually word of mouth would be good. I find that people will find you because of the work that you do. So if there's somebody in your area that's really good at what they do, other people will be talking about it. Go to their Facebook page, see their reviews, go to their website, feel their energy, stuff like that. And then again, sometimes we've got lessons or things that we've got to deal with these people for. How do I learn more about my past lives? So with your past lives, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I always say meditation is the best. And now however you feel guided to meditate is what's going to work best for you. I have a deck of cards that have different past lives on it. Every time I, pull ones for myself, I always get the same things. And it always makes sense to what I've kind of intuitively felt. Like I know I've been in Atlantis. I know I've got Egypt connection. And pay attention to what you are drawn to. Like, is there something that you're like, I really, really like that. Like you could be like really connected to like the old like Greece, type of stuff, or you could be connected to the ancient Egyptian type of stuff. You could maybe be really interested in Atlantis or Lemuria, like those, because sometimes I find that people either, it's like one or the other. Sometimes they like both, but it's like there was Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu. So you may be like resonating with one of those more than the other. That can tell you that you may have had a life there. And then like the ancient civilizations here, sometimes like people are really drawn to like the Buddha type of information and energy. Sometimes people are really drawn to like the Tibetan. Sometimes it's the South America, and I found that those types of things happening as I shifted as well. Like in the beginning of my journey, it was like I was really focused on Atlantis and Egypt, which very much tied into my star stuff. And I was also very interested because we've got past lives there as well. That coexist with us now, and your past lives coexist now. So instead of looking at it as like trying to remember the past, try to look at it as like tapping into something that still exists in this now moment with you, and that might release some of the resistance. But the things that you're drawn to, meditation, just going through your healing journey will help you guide to other stuff. There's past life regressions that you can use. And then like pay attention. I feel like I'm missing something. I'm forgetting something with that. Your dreams, sometimes your dreams will give you like little indications of like where you've been before, what you've experienced before. In your soul family, like your contracts, the types of things that you go through, like, and even like your genes, like your DNA, like how you are as a person. You may feel like my brother always really much like he looks and acts kind of like a Viking, and he's very drawn to that type of stuff, and like he looks into it. So I feel like he had a lifetime as a Viking, but that could probably go all the way back into the Anunnaki, who were the giants that most likely kind of turned into giants back in the day. But yeah, you'll figure it out by basically just what you're into. You identify with Egypt and Victorian era in the yeah. So those would be clear indications that you've had those types of lifetimes. And you can intend through meditation to connect with one, so that you're not trying to like just go all willy-nilly, try to like put it into one don't put it all into one. Be like, all right, I'm going to connect with the Egyptian lifetime and receive what I receive from there. Sometimes I do meditations to connect with ancient Egypt, and people come back and they have experiences from their lifetime that they connected there. You can also connect, like, if it was Egypt, you may have like a big, strong, like, resonance with Isis. But Isis is also connected to Sirius. So you may find that you actually were in Egypt anchoring energy from Isis, Sirius energy. Heavy metal music, I'm not sure. I mean, the heavy metal music has like a different vibration than what I've been connected to or like have seen or would equate with those types of energies. um I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's my own thing, because again, like, I have my experiences and like my way of looking at stuff, so for me that doesn't feel like the same type of frequency. But if it feels like that way to you, that is connected to those things, then there may be a specific message for you to kind of dive into, because we all, again, pre-code ourselves before we come here to figure those things out. But what I keep seeing in my head when you say that is the information from Dr. Emoto, who did like these experiments where vibration and frequency impact things like water or plants or rice or whatever he put these words on or put these musics to. And if you had like classical music playing, it would look like a flower, or like a snowflake, and it was very high vibrational. But if you had like heavy metal music on, it was all polluted. Like, so if you took water from a very high, like, non-polluted area and water from a polluted area, and you look at it under a microscope, one's very like dark and brown, one looks like a snowflake. He did that with other things, and he got the same results every time by putting different things to it. And every time you put heavy metal music next to something, whether it was rice or water or humans, it would shift the vibration down. So that's why I'm kind of having that resistance to it, but it could definitely be something for you to be connected to figure it out. I just don't know off the top of my head what they would be connected to. Sometimes you just want to go home. Yeah, and that happens a lot. I find it's like people wake up, they figure out they're a starseed, and then they're like, I want to go home. And then they go like sometimes into the fear, like crazy place where they're like, everything here sucks. I just want to go home. What you need to do is embrace the fact that you're here for a reason, and instead of trying to get home, bring home here. That's like our whole mission. But I remember I was like, I just want to go home, and then there's some channeling out there that is like, oh, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and be in the 5D, or the earth is gonna end tomorrow and everything's gonna be fine. That type of channeling is just bullshit. Like, you can listen to that every week if you want, but it's just gonna keep feeding you the bullshit. Like, you want to find stuff that's actually helping you with your day-to-day life, and realizing that we're here, there is a 3D experience, we're here. You're never going to wake up and look outside and be like, oh, 5D's here, we're home, we're good. Yeah, it's about integrating and shifting into consciousness here and embracing here. I understand wanting to go home, but that is something that will be a big indication that you're a starseed. But try not to go too far into that vibration, because that's when depression starts to set in. That's when people get like too low and you're not at the highest ability of where you could be. The path less taken. You like gold ray, you're a crystal. Yay! Archangel Michael, blue ray prayer, seed. I've never wanted to get married, but it did happen, and I love my kids, but I still feel like I don't want to be here. And that can make sense, and that does happen. Sometimes we end up doing things we thought we never would, or just things that, and you can still get married and do it in a different way from like what everybody else experiences. I just look at marriage now as like, and it's probably because a lot of what I've been through, I just look at it as like, it ends up being like a piece of paper that if people don't want to do it anymore, they don't do it. People back in the day used to look at it as be like, we're getting married, we're going to work through this, we're going to stick together. We're not going to cheat on each other. We're not going to like just throw in the towel because we're angry or we found something better. But in this day that we live in, so many people are just like, yeah, sure, we'll get married. And then they divorce. They don't put any work or effort into it. Or we have this always looking for the next best thing type of mentality. There's so much stuff going on that it just doesn't feel like it used to. But I would be more into like a hand fasting ceremony where it's like, it's just about the two of us, like making that intention to love each other in that way, rather than making this big fancy thing with a dinner and a dance and, hey, look at us, we're the Barbie and Ken for the night. And then 3 months later, it's like, oh, Barbie and Ken are breaking up. Thanks for the gifts. The ancient Sumerians, yeah, and the ancient Sumerians, there's a lot there connected with the Zechariah Stitchin and like the Anunnaki and all of that, so that those are good things. That could be something that would help you tie in to other stuff. You know, if you've called to that, you probably have deeper star roots, like you may go way, way back. Yes. My purpose is to help people. Yes. Now my realizations, maybe we incarnated thousands times. Yeah, basically. And I feel like even when you're incarnating here, you're still incarnating other places like this. We're not limited to just what we're at right now. You know, think of the universe. It's always expanding, right? So what's to say that you're not always expanding, or that you're not always like rippling off? And even like the scientists and stuff like that, they will tell you like it exists, you know, like there is parallel realities. That's why we have so many weird experiences, like, you know, deja vu, or like the Mandela effect, stuff like that starts to happen. It's because there's just so much expansion happening all the time. But we're not just this little being that is stuck here in this one body. We just feel that way sometimes. Have you worked with galactic implants? I've seen, like, I do the new paradigm, and in that, like, we get rid of them. So I have seen them. I have had them sometimes with like my private clients, but I try not to like feed into those things either too much, because sometimes people who don't have them will start thinking they do, and they're like, you know, I try not to give into that type of fear tactic type of stuff. But yes, if I get somebody on my table and they have something on them, I will remove it. I've removed gray entities from people. I've removed demons, which is more so unhealed, like unresolved trauma. Like the woman was raped and it ended up becoming a big demon, but it was real because she created it and like fed energy to it and fear to it. That's why I try not to be like, oh yeah, you can get an implant, or oh yeah, there's demons, because it just makes other people go to that place of creating them, and that's what attracts them. If you want a reading, I am booked up through February 10th or 11th right now. If there's usually a link down in the description box that can take you to my website. People pick out the reading they want and then email me what your questions are, and then I put you on my list, okay? And there's a PayPal link for people to pay, but I am booked out right now for a while, so I always let people know that. I awoke to the power of Blu-ray, but then streaming took over as the new age of content. Okay. All right. RH negative as well, from two RH negative. Oh wow, from positive parents. I really relate to everything you are saying. I have known since I was a young child I was different and didn't come from Earth. Yeah, see, I think, I'm not quite sure about my dad, but I know actually, I don't even know. I think they were both negative, but I'm not positive. I never knew until I got older, and then when I found out, it just like didn't matter at that point, but it did stick out to me, and I was like, what? You need to give me a shot because of what? Like, it just didn't feel right. And then when I started my awakening and figuring all this stuff out, I was like, oh my God, it does make sense. And then the characteristics of the RH negatives ties a lot into the starseed stuff too. Like you have lower than normal blood pressure, lower than normal heart rate, more inclined to be empathic and intuitive and have those types of gifts. And if you take all the people who have been like reported to have, you know, experiences with aliens or abductions and stuff, the majority of those people are RH negative. But if you take the entirety of the planet, there's only 15% of the population that is RH negative, and a majority of it comes from the Basque country, where that's where a lot of it is from, which is very close to where like the Anunnaki and all that Sumerian type of stuff is supposed to have come from too. So there's also the recessive red hair gene in that. Basically what RH negative is there's no real like explanation for the creation of like where, like it doesn't make sense basically, because mammals are RH positive, you know, mix together, you have babies, all of the animals like that do that, there's no weirdness. But if you have a RH positive blood type parent and an RH negative parent, sometimes when they get together, the mother that's RH negative will try to kill the fetus. That is not normal. That only happens if you're like trying to mix interspecies. So that's when I found out something else. And I think that's a big reason why I don't want kids too, is because it's like my body will literally reject it, especially if I'm trying to do it with somebody that's positive. But then in the 70s, they figured that stuff out and made this ROGAM shot that they shoot into you so that your body doesn't kill a baby. But if you go way back, a lot of our the royals have been Rh negative, and it goes all the way back into like the mark of the lamb. If you think of the term blue bloods, like that's Rh negative type of talk, because when the babies would come out, they'd come out blue because they were almost dead. But you can, I mean, two people can definitely have it. Rh negative and Rh positive can have a baby survive, but the mother's fetus a lot of times does try to kill it because it recognizes it as a foreign object. Like it's not supposed to be there. That's not normal. So that's one of the things that made me be like, okay, I'm definitely weird. All we know is nothing for sure. Yep. I'm studying about them right now as I'm going to practice Sumerian Wicca. Like to watch Galaxy movie and think King affirmations, use crystals. Yep, crystals are good. See, in the vortex, because I know a lot of times people are like, they want to work with crystals and they get drawn to them, but they can't afford them or something. All of the crystals that you guys see in my videos, the majority of them were gifted to me. I didn't buy a lot of these. I won't spend more than like 20 bucks on a crystal. But I also don't worry about having a physical crystal because when I open the vortex, I can ask and intend that that energy and frequency come into me at that point. So if I'm doing a healing session on somebody, I open the vortex, and if I'm working on them and all of a sudden I feel like they need citrine or they need this, I ask to bring that frequency in because we are creators of our reality. We're masters of energy. We have the vortex open for a reason that's tuned into everything that is and exists. So what's to say that you need to go physically get citrine when the energy and frequency of it is already available to us? So try not to limit yourself in those ways either. That's what I was talking about too earlier with like cutting of cords. Like you don't have to be so limited or like ritual based or 3D based with this type of work. That's how you get further along, is by not limiting yourself and realizing that everything is energy and frequency. It gets easier to manifest and to heal and to connect. I connected with Lyran for about a month, and then one day I connected with reptilian energy. I got shocked about the shift and stopped listening to the download. I'm literally scared of everything. Monica, that the Lyrans, you know, like they're the ancient dudes. There are good reptilians though. Like I know like the reptilians have gotten a bad rap because there definitely are negative ones, just like with the Greys and stuff like that. But try not to just cut yourself off completely just because you had that one experience. There could have been a positive thing that was trying to come through from it. And if there wasn't, just ask for the protection to protect yourself from that so that it doesn't come back into you. And also look at your vibration and your frequency that you're emitting at that time. Make sure that you're not, you know, attracting these things to you, or that it's not coming for fear, like we were already in a place of fear, dealing with something low vibration at that time. But usually the Lyrans wouldn't like let you get hurt, you know. And if you're protecting yourself before you open yourself up, you usually won't attract those types of things. And if you do, it's there for you to get rid of. You know, you won't attract anything to you that you're not ready to handle. I've noticed. Like when I started off doing healings, I never had anybody get on my table that was like, and like needed like a freaking exorcism. But a couple years in, it started happening, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for it now. So you're never going to deal with anything you're not ready for. Just have that in mind as well. Is there a troll here? Trolls, creatively challenged. Cast them out of the village. Who's the troll? Let me go down. You guys let me know who trolls are. I can get rid of them. Or if anybody is not a troll and wants to be a moderator, let me know. You got a beautiful labradorite because of me? Oh, yay. I have lots of labradorite. Labradorite's my favorite. Alcyon's here because she knows we're talking about starseeds. This is my star baby. See, that was stuff that started happening too. Like I started having puppies and everything connected. So I have Sirius, who's connected to Sirius, and then I have Alcyon, who's connected to the Pleiades. And they're my star babies. Any Rh negative mother can give birth to Rh positive, even if father is Rh negative. Yeah, like there is stuff that can happen, but there is stuff that's like weird about it. But the only other time it happens is when like mules and donkeys connect. She's deaf. She's my deaf baby. I wouldn't let her go. She couldn't leave. No, she couldn't leave. But anytime I do anything related to like star stuff, Syrian stuff, Sirius has to be a part, and whenever I do Pleiadian stuff, she has to be a part. Are you able to explain a little more on the walk-ins interaction? I think you called it. I was going to try web research it too. because it struck me. I felt I had a brief moment. Yeah, so walk-ins, I mean, just like synchronicity, like your walk-in is going to be like specific to you. Then there's different levels of walk-ins, okay? So like you could have like a family member that like all of a sudden they're just a completely different person. Sometimes it comes accompanied with like a traumatic event. You know, like if somebody went through something and like they were on life support and then they come out of life support, sometimes they have no memory of what happened up into that point. They come out and all of a sudden they're a completely different person. They like divorce their people, they go off and they change career and their entire life becomes different. You can equate that to a walk-in sometimes. Then there's other versions of it where it's like it can happen to you, where it's not so much intense, but it like you feel like a whole different person from who you used to be. It's like all of a sudden, like I feel like I had a version of myself or another type of consciousness walk in 2011. I was blown off my feet and literally like taken off my feet, and I felt like a bee went through my head. It was like, and that's the only thing I can say about what that physical thing was. But then after that, things got crazy and all this awareness was there. So there's that type of information coming in that I can like label as a walk-in, the big dramatic ones as a walk-in. And then there's the walk-ins where you're out and about and there's, you know, maybe a cashier at a place, or, you know, somebody that you interact with at a store or something. It's just somebody that you don't know, but when you connect with them, you feel something from them. They may not say anything profound. They may not do anything crazy, but they stick with you. You know, like there could be a little old guy in the store and he just like mentions something to you, nothing big, but it's like he sticks with you when you leave there. You may even think about him later on. You may think about him right now. There's like, those are walk-in experiences. And what they're doing is like those happen around the lineups for the Pleiadian energy in November and May. Basically it's like a check-in. It's like they come in and they check in on you and they actually like do something energetically. It's like an energetic hug where they check in on your energy. Sometimes it's almost like a test too. Like you may deal with somebody that's a little not so nice to you, and it can be kind of like a check to see where you're at that point. But I feel like it's kind of like ourselves too coming in at different points to give us more information or to help us. I had one experience with them where I left here and drove to South Carolina, and I saw the same exact lady at every store I stopped at from here to South Carolina working. So I know she wasn't following me or like in a car on the same way. She was showing up at every single one of those stores. And I recognized her, like, and I'm like, this is getting weird. You know, at first I thought it was just somebody that looked similar or some whatever, but no, it was the same lady every time. And that was a walk-in, and it was basically like protecting me on my way there. Oh, everybody loves her. Reptilians were trying to help me master my emotion. I remember they were helping me, but the main problem with me is everything scares me. I read about demons and cried for a month that I have one in me. So that's the problem, and that's lower, like that's because of societal conditioning. That's because of like how this world is, movies, you know, the scary movies, the beliefs that the collective holds on to. And as we get shifted more away from that, it's easier for you to deal with that type of stuff. But I know, like, it can be overwhelming and scary. Like, it took me a long time to be comfortable out in the yard by myself connecting with star energy. And it wasn't like anything scary. It was just freaking white ball that would grow and get huge or come really, really close, but I was still allowed to scare me because, oh my God, they're going to abduct me and take me, because that's what our, like, reptilian part of our brain tells us to do, fight or flight, when it's something we don't recognize, or when it's something that society has made us start to think, oh, this is bad, it's not gonna work out good for us. And yeah, that can help. And like, I try not to read about demons or go too much into demons, because demons are not, like, I never really even believed in demons until I saw them. I still don't believe in that, like, they just walk around and are like able to get you. I feel like they're created, or that like you create them by freaking out about them, or like freaking about something and not in repressing something. It's like if you were sexually molested as a child and nobody ever did anything about it and you just held on to that for your whole life, you start to create like an energetic demon. And so in a sense, can't hurt you, but it can, because you allow it to, because you start giving it the power to, and you like don't sleep, and then you don't eat, and you like, oh my God, there's a demon. And that's how those things happen. So you've got to realize that you are the creator of your reality, and it's wherever you're experiencing your reality to be. If you give over power to demon, then it's going to exist. But if you stay in your power and your integrity, and you know that like what it is, that is just consciousness that's been created into something scary, don't feed it, because it feeds off of fear, feeds off of that. Like, but just having that awareness can help you too. When I have somebody get on my table and start like convulsing and doing the weird hand shit, yeah, it's a little weird, but I still keep myself, like, it's like you just know what to do in that moment. Like, I'm like, in the name of, and it depends on the person, because I don't usually work with like Jesus and Mary and all of that, but that woman that I had that was all like, you know, connected and had shit all up in her, that she created, when she needed to have that removed, like her exorcism, I called on Jesus. I was like, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. I called on Archangel Michael and all this stuff that I normally don't call on, but because I did, she finally let it go. But it did try to stay there for a while because she was resistant to leaving it. It's like the last thing that shifted on her was her hand finally went back to normal. And then that energy was in my house. Because I did let a little bit of fear in, I used the vortex to get it out a couple days later. But I had a lot of weird experiences with it due to fear. It's all fear. You loved alcohol, weed, and toxicity, partying no more. Yeah, some, like, it's hard. I went out the other night, and I usually can have, like, when I first woke up, I couldn't drink at all. Like, when I went through my first Reiki trainings, I didn't drink at all for years. And then, you know, the past couple of years, I found that, like, I can have a drink here or there and be fine. But lately, when I have, like, one drink, it's like me having 6 drinks. Like, the other night, I went to the next place with my friend, and I looked at the bartender, and I was like, he knew. We both knew. I was like, I need water. So he just gave me water. I have met a reptilian, and what confused me later is how nice she was. Yeah, see, there's not all bad. Sometimes, oh, I don't even want to go there, but like they're not all bad. And then there are some times that we have entities that may not be so great that try to trick us. So just be aware of that. You'll feel it. You're going to feel if there's something bad or not. Like, I had a kid come, and I was doing a clearing on him, and he had a gray attachment, and I could see it. Like, when I have my eyes closed and I'm doing healing, sometimes I will see vision. So I saw like this gray thing, and I was like making it leave, telling it to leave. And so the next time I see it, it had a freaking wig on, like a blonde, like it looked like E.T. with the wig and everything, like trying to like disguise itself, like, oh, I'm not here anymore, now I'm this pretty girl. It was so weird, but it did happen. And then it did go away, but it was like trying to fool me into thinking that it was no longer there. Hi Sirius. This one's Sirius. He wants to say hi to the other star baby. Do you have any advice about learning to overcome fear? I think with fear, it's dependent on like what's going on. Like with my brother, he used to be like wicked big into anxiety. He's been starting to let it come back up though. But like things like that, like when I used to have anxiety attacks, how I was able to like overcome it is through your mind. It's through what you believe. Your fears come from what you believe. So whatever you're fearful of, you got to figure out what you're believing that's making that fear so powerful, and then shift it and like look at it in a logical way. You know, sometimes it just comes down to logic. Like I was able to overcome anxiety by realizing like this can't kill me. It's just me thinking. It's just me getting myself worked up to this place. Like what's the worst that could happen? I'm not going to die from an anxiety attack. And then I didn't have them anymore. Sometimes I get nervous or anxious, but I don't let it go to the place that it used to get. And then with like the fear of like this stuff, like when I'm working with, like when I was out in the yard trying to get like the things to come closer, it was practice. Like each time I got closer and closer. And now over years of like working with these energies and seeing these things and working with people, I've been able to put stuff together too. Like, okay, now I'm like, I don't have anything to be afraid of because all I'm doing is feeding it by being afraid, first of all. But it's dependent on each person too. When I met my twin flame, I was so shocked because I already dreamed of him in 2016. I never forget his face and smile. And then we met in 2019 at Hong Kong, but we are in separation right now. Okay. That does happen with a lot of people, with the like meeting them after they've kind of seen them, or even just kind of like they just know who they are instantly. And sometimes we have experiences with them, and then like later on they shift. Laughing your ass at the alien voice. Did I do an alien voice? Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. What's the matter? You're so upset. You're so upset. He likes to be with the mama. There's people in there. There's people in there. You can't see them, but they're in there. I already meet him in my dream before we meet in reality. Yeah. Yeah, that happens with a lot of people who are dealing with twin flames. That's a good way to know that you're actually dealing with one. What are you doing? Thanks for being there. You're welcome. All right. Well, does anybody have like any more questions before I go? Because we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes, and I got to do some other stuff, and he's obviously like, okay, mama. How does one begin to understand gifts of clairaudient and empath, etc.? I just recently realized sometimes I have thought I will have a, all right, I just recently realized sometimes I will have thought someone said, I'm not quite sure what that for ending of that meant. Serious, stop it. How do we begin to understand our gifts of clairaudience and empathy? Oh, you'll have a thought of what someone said, maybe? Is that what you're meaning? He's such a hog. Sirius, move it. Come on, stay over here. He's upset because I'm giving so much attention to the screen. So with the clairaudience, like if you want to start understanding like more of like what's coming in, I would just continue to meditate and ask for clarity on what's coming in and like strengthen the gift. Or if you're wanting to use your gift to like strengthen other parts, ask for clear messages that are going to help you to know like what to do. So because I have clear knowing, I'll ask like, tell me, you know, like show, like just give me the information on how to like work with this thing or how to do with that. And also just practicing and trusting and speaking on stuff. And that's a hard thing too, because like if you're dealing with people who are not awake or they're not like open to your message, you don't want to like infringe on people's free will. So finding a like a group of people you can practice with that type of stuff will help you to feel more confident about it and to recognize that like yes, I do have that ability to hear people's thoughts or to hear people's feelings, you know. But you don't ever want to like just try to like push it on people that you don't know are welcome to it. Like if you're out walking in the store, unless you like sometimes you get really really pushed to do something for somebody. It depends on the delivery, it depends on what you're feeling, and it depends on what you're going to say to them, because if you're going to be like, oh my god, you're going to die next week, you don't want to be doing that to people. But like you feel like this overwhelming feeling that somebody's sad, just like by looking at them and acknowledging them and giving them like a little bit of love, like, you know what, you look really beautiful today, like that type of thing can help shift them. But it can, like, you might hear back from that person, you know what, I really needed to hear that because like I've been contemplating killing myself or something. You know, you impact people bigger than you think, especially when you act on those things. You just want to stay within a certain realm without infringing on people's free wills or freaking people out or going to a place of fear. And if you're just trying to strengthen it, get into a group. Like I used to make groups with people for like Starseed support. We would do all different types of practices to strengthen our stuff or to figure out what our stuff was that could, you know, connect us to other things. I'm gonna try to get more classes like on Vimeo that'll be affordable for people, because I do like stuff that I can do long distance. Like the Moon Key really helped open me up. I went from, you know, I went through the Moon Key, I went through the Reiki, I went through the New Paradigm, I went through Angel this and that and all these things, and nobody like it. Like I was doing it, but I was only doing it for like Reiki clinics. Like once a week, I'd, you know, do 30-minute sessions for $10. And then I was like at this studio and I'd be like, yeah, I'm here today if you want to come get a healing or a reading, but nobody would ever show up. Once I went through the Moon Key, it was like all these people came out of the woodworks. Everybody wanted to work with me. Like all my other stuff started taking off. That's what then after that I started doing like guided meditations and having events all over the place and like meeting other people. So it really pushed me into my work. And one of the things I did with that was the soul star, right, which helps with starseeds finding their mission, finding their work, you know, what they're supposed to be doing here, stepping into it more. So I'm going to try to get those onto Vimeo, and they'll only be like $30 for one right. You know, I'm not going to charge a lot. So if you wanted to do like one, you could just do one. Like the star rights don't need to be done in order. But the Moon Key ones should be done in order. What is wrong with your face? He's got his tufa up. He's got his tufa up. But just practicing and finding things that resonate can help you to kind of trust those things. Lavella twins usually play in the 5D before the 3D, as above, so below. Yeah. Thanks for having me here. Well worthwhile. Thank you. I answered something not said out. You answered something not said. Oh yeah, I've done that. And that's clear indication. I've had that happen too, like with the twin. In my head, I had been thinking like, I'm gonna ask him this. I'm gonna ask him, like, I was gonna ask him something. Should I message this? Should I message this? Should I message this? Like, and then I never messaged it, but I got a message from him saying the answer to the question I was gonna ask, and I was like, like, I had to question myself if I asked. So that does happen because we are connected in that way. You know, it's us that stays limited here that like cuts ourselves off from those things. But we do have telepathic communication, particularly with people that we have like soul ties with. But you can do it with anybody. But again, remember to keep yourself in line without going in like beyond free will. You know, some people have thoughts they don't want you to know. But if somebody's thinking about asking you something or thinking about calling you, sometimes you may pick up the phone and call them, you know, or you may answer something because they were already intending to like give you that information. I can do telepathic stuff with the pets, you know, like I can see, like send things to them and they know. You can tell by the way they act that they know. That's a good way to practice telepathic stuff too, is with your pets. Like send them a picture of like a treat or send them, you know, a picture of what it is like if you're going to take them on a walk and see if they start to shift and act like they know what you're doing. I know, come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, this is my handsome husband. He's very upset because nobody said hello to him. This is Mana Man. Your comment on marriage. What do relationships mean to you? Well, relationships are good to, like, I think relationships are good. If you have the right person, you know, like if you have somebody that's going to love you and support you and, you know, be there with you, that's not going to like be there for self-serving purposes. I've been in a lot of shitty relationships. So I know like my outlook on relationships may be different than those who have been in like great ones. And then my parents split up young, and then they split up from the people that they got remarried to. So I've seen a lot of divorce, and I've seen a lot of that like in connection to a lot of the places that I've been throughout my life. A lot of people in relationships who were married, broke up, got a divorce, and like, you know, fought for all their shit, and like it becomes like more important about the money or this or that. So that's kind of like where I think some of my stuff came in about marriage. But I've always kind of been like, I don't need it, you know. And it seems like an ego thing to be like, let's spend all this money on everybody coming and looking at us in our dress and our talks, and spend all this money on cake and crap, when it's not supposed to be that. Like, it's supposed to be about like promising your love to each other. However, there's a lot of people who don't stick to it, you know. But I think a relationship doesn't need that in order to sustain it. You're going to know if you're with somebody that actually loves you and wants to be with you and is going to, you know, do the things that come along with it. But I think relationships can be blessings or lessons. And also what you're putting out. Like, I know I attracted some bad relationships because I wasn't taking care of myself, you know, or I was codependent, or I was doing things that were not good for me to do. So I attracted people in my life that were not good to me. But that was all part of my thing coming to this point in my life. But I do think that you can have a very healthy relationship with people. You just have to find the right one and make sure that they're treating you good. I'm thinking of starting a YouTube channel myself. How do you get up the courage to put yourself out there and not be intimidated with family, etc., knowing about your gifts? I'm afraid of the judgment. So that was a part of me, like in the beginning of all of this. I was in the closet, you know, like my mom, I didn't care. Like from day one, I was like, mom, oh my God. Like I thought I'm schizophrenic. She's like, you're not fucking schizophrenic. Cause she has gifts too. But she never really like turned them all the way on or utilized them. My grandmother did as well. But they never talked about it. You know what I mean? My dad he was in jail most of my life. So I never really got to be around him like on a consistent basis. And my stepdad, like, didn't give a shit what he thought because I hated him. But then other family members, like I said, I've never really had like a whole like solid thing. And it kind of just over time got to the point where I didn't care what people think. Like my sisters are all younger. My sisters and brother are all younger. So like no matter what I do, they kind of think it's cool. They're like, oh yeah, okay. They believe stuff. They ask questions. They don't look at me like I'm a psycho. But it did take me time, you know, to go from like the awakening to feeling okay to make a channel. And when I first made the Bridget Rau channel, what I was putting on there was just like meditations. You weren't seeing my face. I would make like these little videos where I would channel a meditation and put it out there. And if people liked it, they liked it. If they didn't, they didn't. I think it got a little bit harder for me to put myself out there like on this level where I answer questions or like do readings, but I got used to it. Like I kind of just decided one day like just do it, and I kept doing it. The reason why I started doing the readings on the other channels because I was going through stuff that I was like, I find that as a healer or a reader, sometimes I receive guidance by helping other people. You know what I mean? When I give a healing, I receive healing. When I give a reading, I receive new insight to stuff. So sometimes I'm guided to work in a particular place or particular topic that helps me to understand that topic more as well. So like the way I used to look at, twin flames is probably a lot different as to how I look at it now. The way I used to look at starseed stuff, a lot different how I look at it now. And I just go where I'm guided to go, do what I'm guided to do, and try not to worry about that stuff. And if you've got family members that are gonna like shun you away or make fun of you, then they probably aren't the best support system for you in any area of your life. If you think about it, like you deserve to have people who support you no matter what. But I do get it because it's weird, it's out of the box, it's not like your normal everyday thing. I don't really talk about it too much with like my grandmother or stuff like that. She knows. And then, it's showing them too. Like the fact that I am successful helps a lot for them to realize that I'm not crazy, like that there's other people out there who are like this. And since my dad moved in, he's shifted a lot too. Like he's into this stuff. Like he's always watching Ancient Aliens. He's always like trying to ask questions about the things. Right now he's trying to make me some stuff that like he's really interested in. Like he's open to it. So I'm lucky with that. But him living here has also helped our relationship. And after time, it's just a way of life. Like I said, I don't feel like the same person I used to be. Back when I was in my early 20s, I probably would have never, ever, ever, ever believed that I'd be doing this now. I had a big ass ego. Then there was like the drugs and the alcohol and all the bullshit that I did that was just so stupid. I used to be like, oh, I'm so cool. It's just none of that stuff matters anymore. And I think when you let a lot of that stuff go, the next step is to really step into who you are. And if you want to be on YouTube and do it, then just start it off. You don't even have to put your face out there. It depends on what you want to put on to YouTube. If you want to do readings, you don't have to show anything but your hands. You don't have to put your name on it. Start it part-time, see how it goes. And when you get that confirmation from people and you see that you're helping people, that may empower you to be like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I know what I'm doing is helping people. I know it's helping me. This is what I want to do. I'm not going to stay held back anymore. Yeah, Mona Lisa, that as long as it's not like intentional, like it's cool. And that does it sometimes it just happens. And when those things happen, it's just cool to have it happen. You have intense visions and feelings during my cranial sacral therapy session. Those are cool. I've had one of those happen before. One of those therapy sessions. Those are really cool. I had a lot of visuals with it. I think it's because they're tapping into something specific, like with the points, and it's your brain. It's that whatever intention or thing that they're taught to do for you does definitely help you to open up. So it's a gateway or something. It's like a way for you to dive into seeing more with your third eye, I feel. So it means that you had a good session basically, because that's how I felt when I had it. My first dog was a black dachshund and her name was Daisy. They're the sweet pups. Thank you for the live stream. You're welcome. I have 6 of them all together right now. I used to have 7. 5 of them live in here with me. One took over with my dad. Do you have any guided meditations online? Yes. On the Bridget Rau channel, I have playlists. If you go down to like Pleiadian Essentials meditation, there's a whole bunch there. And on this channel, I have a couple. I have some from my Moon Key students that I put on here. And then I have some, and you can use those. Like the meditations are for anybody. They'll help you connect with the archetypes, connect with day keepers, wisdom keepers. The day keeper and wisdom keeper would be good for those on the twin flame journey because it helps you to balance feminine and masculine energy. I also have the archangel one that help you cut cords. So if you've been being bombarded by people's stuff, I've had a lot of good feedback on that one, like people who've been brought to tears and they've felt a lot better afterwards. But yeah, like if you type into YouTube search or you just go onto my channel, I should make a playlist on here. I think I do have a playlist on the Divine Essentials channel for meditations. I know there's one on Bridget Rau. But if you always just type in like Bridget Rau, meditation, my meditation should pop up because I always put the right things into my stuff when I make my videos. That way people can find it. So if you either put Bridget Rau, Divine Essentials, meditation, you know, that whatever ones pop up will pop up, but there are playlists with them as well. I didn't encounter my tribe for a while either, Hannah. I found my beginning on Facebook. I found the Pleiadians group, and it's so funny because when I look back now, like when I see people's posts in the Pleiadians group, I'm like, I was there though. Like I remember I went into the Indigo Adults and I went into Pleiadians, and there was a lot of people in there, but like I was at that point where they were all at, and I think that's what happens. It's like you wake up, you go through certain parts of your awakening, you get drawn to certain stuff at certain times, and then you get propelled into the next part, into the next part. So like people I was like very close with on the internet back in the day, we're still connected now, but we're like not even like we don't even have to speak to each other. It's just like we acknowledge each other telepathically. Like sometimes one of them will reach out to me and it's like I had just thought of them, you know, or something like that. But very rarely do we need to talk like we used to. But back in the day, it was like question after question. Oh my God, yes, me too, me too, me too. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. That's one of the great ways to start finding and being in the energy of being with your people. And when you start emitting that, you may find that you start attracting them in your physical world too. So that's where I started, and that's what kind of pushed me into being like, all right, I gotta find a Reiki place. Found a Reiki place. As I started working with there, I found other people that were like starseeds, and then I started doing my own events that were like everybody. I have people drive like 4 hours to come here for starseed stuff because they've never nobody else around here does it. But there will be people that will seek you out and find you when you start putting yourself out there like that. If you do decide to do it, but if you look for it and you start shifting your energy of like, I don't know where my soul tribe is, into I am with my soul tribe, you'll start finding more and more of them. But now I'm more at this place where it's like my soul tribe is back out there again. But it's not like it was. It's a completely different thing. Now it's like I'm answering the questions I was once asking. Yes, Hannah, you have us too. You appreciate this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're still legally married to a narcissist. How did you navigate? How I got away was very lucky for me. The first one that I was with, who was physically abusive, he tried to kill me one night, and my mom called the cops. The cops came and took him. I took everything I owned in the car with me that night that I could take. Like, it was a big bird cage with my bird, and everything that I had there, I left everything else, and I left that night, never went back. However, I found my next boyfriend to be a narcissist as well. And that one was bad. Like, that one destroyed everything. I had credit, I had good stuff. Like, even at my worst as like an addict, I was a functioning addict. Like, I had good credit, I was paying my bills. Like, people would look at me, they wouldn't know that I was like messed up, you know. But yeah, I allowed him to destroy things. Like, he started sleeping with one of the women that I worked with, and I was a manager at this place. So I was like, I don't want to go back to work there, especially because I wasn't leaving him. So I was embarrassed. He had bought her a car. He took her on a trip to Florida. He put her in a house down in Plymouth with her friend. And he furnished the house. Like, I found the receipt from IKEA that he bought all the furniture for her, and it was in her handwriting because she was one of my waitresses that I could know her A's and E's, you know. And then I just had so much confirmation. There was a picture of her in our bed once with his arm, like so many things that confirmed it. But I stayed, and then I lost my job, and then I no longer had money, and he stopped paying bills, and then we lost everything. He went to jail for a little bit while he was gone, like the other stuff just falling apart. Then we ended up in the basement of his mother's house with absolutely nothing. Now that was right after my awakening when we went into the basement, and that's when I started looking for this stuff and trying to empower myself and figure out how to make money from home, because he wouldn't let me get a job, because if I went and worked somewhere, I'd cheat on him because he was cheating on me. And then I finally did like the affirmations. I did like the gratitude stuff. I just started putting all this stuff out there, like into the universe, and being grateful for stuff and finding people that would hire me. Like, so I taught myself how to build a website, and that's how I used like that. Like, first person I went to that wanted to learn Reiki, that I wanted to learn Reiki from, her website was a mess. So I gave her a new website. She gave me a couple classes in trade. Then there was another studio, same thing. She had me revamp her entire website, started doing all of her stuff on Facebook for her. And that's how I kind of like traded and bartered for stuff. But then they would also let me use their studio and have my own clients and stuff. And I built those things. So I started making money that way. I opened a bank account he didn't know about. I started putting money away, saving all this stuff up. And the universe, for whatever reason, like they decided that he was going to go to jail the same time my dad got out of jail. So that really helped me too, because my dad gets Social Security. So at least he would have some money to put towards stuff. And that's what really helped me to like find a place that I could afford with what I was doing. You know, there were like, even last year I was still driving for Uber and doing little stuff, like having stuff here, doing the readings online, all of that. Now this year it's like a bad month is like $6,000 or $7,000 a month. Completely different from where I was. Like it's so quick too. And it's like when you get yourself out of those energies of where you are at, and like that belief system that I gotta be here and that I can't get away from this person, you give your power to a narcissist, they're gonna suck on you and feed you. But when you start empowering yourself to get out of there and doing like those little steps, the universe will conspire to help you. Like I believe he went to jail because like that's kind of one of the final things I needed for, but I also believe my dad got out at the same time because that's helped our relationship to heal. Like to have him in my life, and he treats me better than any boyfriend I've ever had. He cooks, he cleans, like if I like he'll just offer to make me food sometimes. He takes out trash, like he does everything. And so he shows me how to be like the dad. He's like showing me how to be the dad like he wasn't when I was a kid, and showing me how to be like a man for me that I never got to see because my stepdad was a piece of shit as well. I'm not saying he was a piece of shit, he was an alcoholic. That's why he went to jail. Like he just couldn't stop drinking. And I get that because I was an addict. I was a heroin addict for a long time. It's been closer to 15 years now since I've done that type of stuff. And since he's moved in with me, he doesn't do drugs anymore. Like he doesn't drink anymore either. This is the first time he's like stayed consistently sober for almost 3 years now. What's the matter? Oh, it's 7-Eleven. But you just have to shift your world and your thoughts and your energy, and then everything around you will shift. And make a plan, and don't let them keep you down. All right, you're welcome. Thank you, Sunflower. This is 7-Eleven. All right, guys. So I've been on for 2 hours now, and I still have to record from the, my Manifesting Divine Love series on the other channel. So I think I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do a little pre-recorded thing for that. I might go live over there to talk with people over there. If you're dealing with a difficult love situation that you're wanting to manifest an ideal one, I'm going to be doing a Q&A over there probably in a few hours from now. So depending on where you are, if you're awake, because it's now 1:20 here, but I don't usually go to sleep until like 6, 7 a.m. And that's another thing with Starseeds. You may find you're up all night. You like to be up at night when nobody else is, when there's no like bombarding energies. You love the doggos? Yes, they go puppies. They love bugs. Yes, she's Alcyon's ears. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to go. And like I say, if you want to join me over there, you'll get the notification. If you're connected, that's the Bridget Rau channel. It's my name. Yes, we're up all night. Yeah. It's what I do. I think it's because the veil is thin, too. At 3 a.m. is like when the veil is thin, I can get more intuitively connected. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to go now. Say good night. Thank you very much. And I will be getting on here more to do, I'm going to do some topics where it's just a topic instead of just me, randomly going back and forth because of questions. But this will help me to know what you guys want to know about so I can get more on here. And then some crystal stuff and things like that. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you guys very much. I will see you all soon. In Mune. Namaste.